Um, I know that there are, NAG and LGA are live right now, so people are probably not going to join mine, but that's okay. Where I'm at is I need to get my thoughts out. I need to get everything out because if I don't, it's just going to rot in my brain and then nobody's going to hear it. So I'm going to walk you through my day today. Or since I've dropped in New York. So I got into New York about 6 p.m. Last night on Wednesday. And I went to dinner with Carol, Miss Carol Snyder. I went before and I had a little bit of like chips and guac. And then she joined me. We ate some fish tacos. We chatted. We had a good time. And she let me know, girl, I'm going early. And Carol is the gal that is like, she's there. She's Johnny on the spot. She is like, and I'm also the person of like, I'm down if you need somebody, I'm your hype girl. I got you. I will be there for you. So what I did was I was like, okay, Carol's going at 5. Holy shit. I woke up, I was so excited about everything and everything that was released. I was awake at like 4 a.m. yesterday, yesterday, the day before I flew, because I was just reading and I was so excited. So I knew I was kind of tired, so I was like, I better get some sleep tonight. Still so excited. I stayed awake until like 10:30. Finally went to bed at like 11. And then by the time I went to sleep, I was like, oh no, girly, we got to do this. But I knew I was like, I need to get up. I was like, Carol, I'm not going to be able to make it to the courthouse by 5 because I'm going to be dragging. I gotta look good. I gotta like get my makeup, and it's just going to take me a minute to get going. Right. So I told her that to let me know when she got there and then I would come and join her. She went there and got in line. She goes, oh, there's nobody here, but turns out it was the wrong door. She went around the corner. She's like, oh shit, there's already a line. I panicked like one does. So I was like, I didn't fly all the way to New York not to get in. Hi, how's it going? Hi, DMP. I was like, I didn't fly all the way to New York not to get in. So I was like, you know what? I'm going. I'm going to go and I'm going to get in. So I went over and I booked it. I walked all the way over there. I ended up making it over there around like 6:15 a.m. and hung out. There were 3 line sitters, so 3 people that were hired to sit in line. The first one we've deduced we figured out later was Lauren, Court of Random Opinion. She got first in line. Then there were 2 other line sitters. One was somebody named MJ, who I introduced myself. We exchanged nice smiles to each other, but we never really discussed anything. I don't really know who that is. Somebody said she was a lawyer. I've never heard of her. Then there was another woman who I also introduced myself to. Didn't want to talk. That's fine. So those were the other two in line. Then third in line was Carol. Then it was Andy Senor. And then there was an Irma, like an amazing person named Irma. So I was like, hello, oh my gosh, nice to meet you. So we all hung out, just me, Andy, Irma, Carol, for like 45 minutes to an hour. It was great. I think we were all so like on adrenaline and hyped. We were going. And then I knew that I was going to stream live starting at 7. So it took about 40. And then I was like, all right, guys, I'm getting the tripod out. Because I wanted everybody to experience the line together. In a world of Swifties and dragons, be a Baldoni. I love that. I love that. And so that was my experience up until getting in the line. Then you guys saw my live stream. I have my laptop pulled up, so it's kind of got a light on me. I had my live stream going, so you guys were a part of that because I wanted you to be in line with us. And you were in the line with us outside of the Southern, and people would come and go. But then as people walk by, people would be like, are you standing in line for Baldoni Lively? And you're like, yeah, we are. And they're like, oh, me too. And then there'd be people that walk by and just such kind, nice people. Like John, you were such a delight. Like he was so kind and just sweet, like this little sweet guy. Yeah, LGA and NAG they're both like 5'2" to 5'3" range, I think is kind of the range. I'm 6'1", and then I put boots on, so I was probably 6'2", 6'3" today. Wasn't planning on it, but it was cold, so I needed something to cover my ankles. So I went ahead and I went in, where are we at? We were meeting people as they were coming up into line. There was lots of action, lots of people coming around. Then there was other people that would come to get in line for other things. There was a funny story. There was a security guard that worked for the courthouse that came up and he goes, Luigi Mangione? And you're like, what? And he goes, you guys here for Luigi? And we're like, no, we're not here for Luigi. Hi, Aunt Michelle. How are you? Yes, short women of power. They are delightful. Hi, I'm in New York, if you didn't know. I'm on my bullshit side quest. I've just been living it up, but we'll talk more later. Just me and you. Anyways, the guy's like, "Are you here, Luigi Mangione?" And we're all like, "No, we're here for Lively Baldoni." And he goes, "Who's Baldoni?" And nobody knows who he is. Your uncle and I. Thank you for your support. It's been a delightful little side quest. The guy was like, who's Baldoni? We don't know who Baldoni is. And so we had to be like, we did like Jane the Vert, like Baldoni. We're like, you know what? Ryan, do you know who Ryan Reynolds is? You know who Blake Lively is? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, they're trying to railroad this guy because he's a small fish and they think they can. And it's insane to watch. So that's all been happening. Then what I'll tell you, and yes, I'm sipping Sauvignon Blanc out of an espresso mug because that's all that I don't know what hotel this is, but it didn't have those. I'm used to a nice Hilton with a paper mug and a paper whatever. It's got like a little Nespresso and like a tray of like espresso mugs. And I'm like, okay, I guess this will do for my wine sipping. Anyways, he was impressed that there were so many people lining up for this guy when he had never even heard of him, which I thought was interesting. Then we met, there were so many people, there were so many creators. Andy, was an interest. I've never met him before. I've never really interacted with him before. I don't watch his content, so I had no idea. Like, I heard rumors about the Popcorn Planet documentary, and I had asked him about it. I said, hey, where's that going? What's going on with that? He didn't really know. He's like, oh, well, since the subpoena, I've got really, like, that kind of stopped in his tracks. But he made a good point. Like, so much has come out now that even if he were to have put that out, it probably wouldn't be as relevant now. Talked to so many people. And so then as the sun started to come out, more people started to come. It started to get a little more chaotic. And I'm pretty good at like managing social situations, but holy cow, when there's like so many different people, I'm trying to keep track of names. I'm trying to but then also it's a new environment. It's new people. I'm trying to also report on stuff. So I'm interacting and talking to people, but then we see Brian Friedman pulled up to the courthouse, and somebody goes, oh, look, it's Brian Friedman. And then I look over and I see there's an extra TV camera over there. It's got extra written all over the side. And I said, if extra can do it, so can I. So as you guys were live with us, I pulled my phone. By the way, at this point in time, we're all in a line waiting to get into the courthouse, not knowing if there would be enough seats for us all. So we were waiting in a line, like accordingly, just in case like they had to make a cutoff, then those people that came late. So that's how that went. Hi, how's it going? Hey, everybody. I know that Little Girl Attorney and Not Actually Golden are live. So I know that I'm probably a moot point, but I needed to get all of this out of my brain so that so it's there, if that makes sense. Because if I don't do it now, people in our live are asking about you. I'm live too. They just texted me that. Should I text her? Hold on. I'm saying, I'm live. Pull me in. Actually, I'll just say, can I join? That's probably more. Can I join? NAG said she said that to me as well in person, and I'm like, that's so kind. But the other thing is they're fucking gorgeous themselves. They're such gorgeous women. And I think the other thing that's just so radiant about them is just how smart they are. Like, their intelligence also adds this extra layer of attractiveness that you're like, I fucking like you. You know what I mean? Like, not only are they're beautiful, but like, it makes you like them more. Does that make sense? She said, if we can figure it out, Godspeed. Well, I don't know if they know how. Maybe she could send me a text. Or is it StreamYard? They're probably on StreamYard. It's fine. If I might hop out if needed. No, I'm not going to take over their I'll sit back. Just let me know. So where am I at in my story? This is where I think things left off with you guys was... So then I was like, well, if Extra TV can interview Brian Friedman, so can I. Like, he's clearly talking to them. Why can't he talk to us? So I just took you guys off the live mount. Like, I literally had a phone stand up, which people were kind of weird about, which I get. They're not used to streaming, and it's hard to get used to at first. Anyways, sorry. It made my whole day. Love you. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm texting with NAG, and we'll see. I call her NAG, not NAG. I don't know. I don't like NAG. It seems derogatory. Like, seems like a negative connotation, so I don't like that. So I was like, I can do it too. So I literally went and I walked up with you guys, and I was like, hey, let me, and my intention, so in the video, you hear me like talk over him, which I know is something I need to work on, but I was also nervous a little bit, where I said like, hey, you know, how are you feeling? Because I had this question in my head of like, okay, go up to him and ask a question. And then if you ask a question, he can answer it. And then that, you know what I mean? You're interviewing type of thing, whatever. So I went in, I introduced myself and then asked the question like I had pre-planned in my mind. But he had already, like, so then that's where I feel like it got kind of awkward for, like, oops, my bee, watching back that video. However, he said, hey, Kate, yep, I know who you are. And I said, oh, you do? Like, and he's like, yep, I know who you are. I can blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And you're like, and he's like, yeah, I've seen all your videos. And you're like, you have? Okay, great. That's amazing. But of course, right at that moment, as they're like, okay, yeah, I watched all your videos, and I said, okay, well, you have a great day. Like, cause I don't want to take up all of his time, right? So I was like, okay, you have a great day. I'll see you later, like whatever. And he goes, as I turn around to the right, back where the line was, everybody is like not running, but they go, we're going in. And the line is literally moving in to go in to the meaning that, sorry, they're texting me and I'm distracted. Clearly I'm doing my best. Okay. Be less distracted, Katie. The line's moving to go into the building. So if you were on my live on YouTube, I did not end that well. So what happened was I'm literally going, hi, Brian, how's it going? And then I turn around and see the whole line's moving. I may miss my spot that I've been saving since fucking 6 a.m. So I go back and I book it to go grab my backpack, grab my tripod and get it down. And then I start jogging inside to go back and get in my spot in line so I can get into the court, like get into the hearing. But as soon as I grabbed my phone, I tossed it in my backpack, knowing you guys were all still on YouTube Live. So I was like, they probably were in my backpack shuffling around on live for like 2 minutes. Like, that's insane. And then as soon as we got into the courtroom, we were in like, it looked like a TSA situation. And in TSA, I'm going to set up my StreamYard and possibly join NAG and whatever's. Hold on, let me get my StreamYard pulled up. So then as we're in the TSA line, the guy is like militant and he's like, let's go, shut up your phones, let's shut up your phones, everybody's phones off. Nobody's phone's on, everybody get going. So you go, and you shut your phone off. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm still live, hi, bye. And then that's how that ended. So I'm sorry for the abrupt endness earlier. That's kind of, and then of course, then it was just from there on, it was just chaos. I shut my phone off. We went into the courthouse. We were waiting in line. We didn't really know what to do. And that's where I might put StreamYard. Let me get the StreamYard pull up. Does anybody have questions? Yeah, thank you so much for getting giddy. How did they even did they even announce they were live? I don't know if they announced it or not. I think they were just recording it like I am. I went and I got food with them, and I was with them up until 4 o'clock, and then I left and I went and I fell victim to Canal Street, and then I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I walked back to my hotel, and then I just got up here. And even though I just ate, I need to eat again. I can already feel it. And also I was like, oh, I should probably record all this before I literally zombie out, because all I want to do is watch Vampire Diaries and go to sleep. But I was like, I need to get it out while it's fresh. And I know they had the same idea, but they're all staying in the same hotel and I'm in a different hotel. So, join the, I know you can't watch us separately. That's okay. That's why that's why I like the YouTube, is because it records it better than TikTok, to be honest. The YouTube live, all I have to do is go live, vent my thoughts, and then I just end it and it uploads it. So anybody can go back in and watch it. Versus on TikTok, I have to go through and I have to download, then I have to figure out how to clip it, and then it doesn't. It's always funky about the way that it downloads it. So this is just the easiest way to do it, especially when I'm like completely drained. But I totally get the back and forth, whatever. She says, give us a few. Not a big deal. I wasn't freaking out that I met Brian. I think it was more like you're just nervous because I think the reason why I was nervous is not from the person. Like, Brian Friedman is literally just a person. Like, we are all people. Justin Ball, every person, if you go in there, I feel like people like make these lawyers into celebrities, which I understand. We kind of sensationalize that. We kind of amplify that. But in the end, we're all people. Brian Friedman's just a person, just like Kevin Fritz is a person, like Marin Shaw's a person, like everybody's a person, right? And so when it comes down to it, you're like, I wasn't nervous about the person. I think it's because I was in a situation where I don't interview people all the time. I don't walk up outside of a courthouse and accost somebody with my phone streaming live and go, hi, my name's Katie. How's it going? You know, it's like, so that, I think the scenario and the situation was more awkward because it could have been anyone. And that was kind of why, if that makes sense. I did talk with the lawyers. I didn't talk with anybody other than Fritz and Friedman. Fritz walked by and I was like, Fritzy. And literally he just stuck his hand out. We shook hands and he's like, how's it going? I was like, good, man. Yeah, see you later. And then he kept walking by. But we interacted a little bit, during the hearing because I sat front row, LOL. It was I'll have to get to that part of the story. I don't know if I should tell. Yeah, I'll keep going. So after we made it through security, I'm going to keep telling my perspective of the story because I haven't yet told about the hearing. Up until this point, I've just talked about how far I've gone through everything. So after we got through security, they took my phone, they took my meta glasses. We locked it up. They give you a chip. You go on through with all your stuff. And then we waited. They put us in this waiting line, basically this queue down in the main hallway. We hung out there and that was that. And we stayed there for probably like an hour maybe or so. And everybody was kind of like, but started lining up. But people started coming through the line, different people, and people kept introducing themselves to me. And some people were followers. Like I got to meet Sabi. I got to meet Irma. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name right. Is it Zowian? I have it written down. She was great. Zian maybe? Zian was great. But then there was also, we'll finish the legal stuff and then we'll invite you is what she said. Love it. They're going to finish the legal stuff while I continue to tell my narrative up until I got to the hearing. We were waiting in the queue. People started showing up. But let me tell you, yeah. I will get to this, Creative Tennis. I will. Because, and thank you so much for your donation. What do I think the judge is going to do? Let me just answer it briefly, quickly. I still think that he's going to throw out the whole ALA, to be honest, is the way that it sounded to me. But I talked about it with NAG and LGA, and both of them disagree. They didn't fully disagree, but they were kind of apprehensive about it. But that's what it seemed like to me as a spectator. And so that was something where I was like, I think he's going to throw that out. And if he throws out the contract, then that means a ton of the claims are going to go. Because she was an employee. So, I was focused on the sun. It was literally, he was standing in the light. That kind of, when I look back on it, I was like, damn, because I was holding my phone at my chest kind of so it wasn't like me holding it in front of my face, like, hey, Brian, how's it going? How are you doing? Like my name's, so I held it right here and I was like, hey, my name's, like, so we could have a face-to-face interaction, if that makes sense. And I didn't realize where my camera was pointed. So that's how it ended up. But so we were all standing in the line, and as we're standing in the queue, everybody's lawyers are passing. And as the lawyers pass by, you get a read on how do they feel about it. We saw, right before we got in the queue and we walked in, we saw Brian again, and he was standing there with, it wasn't Marin Shaw, it was, who's Baldoni's lawyer from California. She is beautiful. She's got brown hair. She's newer ad. She's in the background. Marina, maybe? It's also an M name, which is why I want to say Marin Shaw, but that's not correct. She was great, but she literally got out her cell phone and she goes, do you guys want to send a video to Justin? Yeah, why not? Like, okay, do you want us to? That's what she said. So she pulled it out to start recording, hit the button, and the court marshal ran over and was like, no, you can't do that. And she's like, oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. And so he got upset. Like, so then it was like, oops. But she did go like, hey, we should do this after court, but we didn't end up, or at least I didn't. I didn't participate in that. But she did ask in the beginning. But as I stood in line, there were a few takeaways that I had that I want to share. Those takeaways are, one person stuck out to me, and I wrote their name down and I interacted with them. His name is Sean. I don't know who just left that comment. That's weird. I interacted with Sean, and Sean was a reporter for Deadline. Sean was there a little earlier on, and I said, Deadline, you say? Tell me more. And LGA was in the conversation at that point. She was not as subtle. And I was like, at some point I had to be like, girl, I kind of kicked, like nudged her a little bit, like, get out of here. Like you're not, you gotta ease into it a little bit. So I said, for Deadline, you say? Oh, really? What do you write for? And so he started talking a little bit more about like, information about, yeah, I was called by Dominic and I was, I have to go in and report for this writer. And I said, oh, who's the writer? Oh, Dominic, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, Dominic Patton with Deadline? And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, Dominic Patton. I said, oh, interesting. I was like, oh, have you ever written with Dominic before? And he goes, this is my first time. How do you know? And I was like, oh, I think I've read a couple of his pieces. He's a great writer. He's a good writer, And then kind of like talked through it a little bit. And then, I was basically what I sussed out is he's never written for him before. He read through all of the articles prior to this. He wasn't aware of the case, but Sean was there just basically to get the scoop, report it back to Dominic by lunchtime, and then they were going to write the article. And I said, oh, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And I guess if it goes well, he's going to cover the trial, too, for Dominic. And I said, oh, you subbing in for Dom? And he was like, ha, 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 like, funny joke. And I was like, I didn't mean it as a joke. I was like, oh, you're just subbing in for, yeah. Anyways. Did anyone say, I don't know about that. I don't know what that means. Then, where are we at? Oh, the people in line. Then there was ABC News was in line. Variety magazine was in line. Who else was there that I met? There was a lot of people. Hi, friends. How's it going? Then So then they're like, cool, let's go. Let's go on up to the room. So we actually all had to get on an elevator to go up to the courtroom. We all piled in this elevator, probably like 10 people. It was a bunch of people. The creators that were in there were like Court of Random Opinion, me, Andy Senor, LGA, NAG, Carol was in there. We were all in this elevator. Plus there was like some other other just people that were there. And then there was a couple other, I think they're creators, but I don't know who they were. And then the court marshal or court officer or whatever it was, he shut the elevator door and everybody was silent. But we were riding the elevator for like quite a bit of time. And if you know anything about me, I feel silence, unfortunately. It's a flaw I have that I know I need to work on. So being in an elevator where I'm jammed, packed in a corner like this, and there's like 10 other people, I was like, I just thought it might be a good time to make a joke. Like, just break the ice a little bit, you know what I mean? So I said, smells like onions in here. Who had onions for breakfast? Just trying to be funny. And I think I actually offended a few people maybe by my joke, unfortunately. But some people got some laughs, but anyways, I thought I was being funny. And then we just kind of went then we all got out, and then I was like, just kidding. You guys know I'm just kidding, right? And then it's like, okay, all right. But then somebody was like, I did actually have onions for breakfast. And I was like, I didn't smell anything. I was just fucking around. Like, I was just kidding. Like, it was supposed to be funny because we're all jammed in there like tuna. You know what I mean? We're all sardines in a can. Chill. But anyways, the reaction, I didn't get the reaction I was expecting, or maybe it was because I'm just Midwest out in the middle of whatever. The Midwest colliding with the New York, like, attitude has been an interesting journey as well. So then with that, New Yorkers have zero, honestly. But I feel like I didn't know if everybody was New Yorkers or not. Then we got upstairs and they started letting us all in, and we sat down in pews. Or they're not pews, they're benches. So we sat down on benches. They were hard benches. They weren't very comfortable. But we got in there. There was like probably like 15 associates for each side. So each side had 5 benches that fit about like 6 people on them. And the first 2-3 benches for each side was full. So like there were 4 benches left with 6 seats. We filled those right quick. And then all of a sudden you hear the marshals or the court officers being like, we need to make room for these guys. And you're like, so they started to make associates and some of the lawyers even to start to move up to the jurors like box to go sit to make room for the public, which I thought was super respectful. I thought it was great. They were awesome. Like because there were so many people that had such an interest to come and hear this. They did a great job of like making room for everybody. Just because there were so many people there. And so I initially got sat in the very back bench, like in the middle. Wasn't a great seat. Middle back bench. It was fine. Wasn't a great seat. They're putting out chairs. They're clearing, but then they'd clear out a row in front of you, and then they'd be like, okay, let's clear that row, put them up there, and then we bring more public in. So it actually didn't benefit us to be first in line because the people that were first in line ended up getting sat in the back. And does that make sense? So me being me, which take it as you take it. Me being me, I see the front area open up and I'm like, it's like a plane, man. If that cabin door has been closed and those seats ain't full, you get we're spreading out. We're spreading out. You know what I'm saying? Like free game. So I literally got up. Oh no, but first, before that front row opened up, Sabi, who is a follower, she got sat on the side. She was up like 2 rows ahead of me over on the side in like a great seat. She turns around and she looks at me and she goes, do you want to sit here? And I thought about it for a minute. I was like feeling guilty and like kind of like, oh, I don't want, like she wants to hear this too. She's doing the same thing I am. She came for this. Like, I don't want to take that from her. I had that as an initial thought. And then my second thought was, nah, fuck it. I flew all the way to New York. If she wants to offer it to me, I should say yes. And so I was like, I said, no. And then I sat there for like 30 seconds. Then I was like, Sabi, fuck it. Let's switch. Okay. And I'm like, thank you. Like, let's do it. She swapped me and she's like, yeah, no problem. I look forward to watching and I was like, you're great. Thank you so much. So then I swapped her spots. But then even from there, the front row opened. And as soon as that front row opened, I went, boop, and I sat myself right up front, right like two, like I could have reached out and done like this with Fritz, and been like, Fritzy, what's going on, dude? And I didn't, but I, because I was so close and because I was front row, I was able to, my main thing, and maybe this is because I do counseling for a living, I notice body language, and that's something that we don't really get a read on when we watch or read these documents online. So as we're reading all of these legal documents like court transcripts, you're missing a big chunk of communication because you don't see body language. All you see is words or read as words, right? And so having that as another picture of things gives everything a big wide, like a different picture. Now I don't know what LGA and NAG have said in their live, and that's fine. But what I will tell you is my takeaways from the body language all throughout the hearing, and I wrote all of it down. There was lots of lawyers present. None of them made eye contact. They did a great job of keeping like neutral faces, which told me that I would make for a very bad lawyer. I would not do, I'd be like over there, if somebody made a weird argument, I'd be like, ew, what kind of argument is that bullshit? Like I would have to retrain myself, you know what I mean, to just be neutral. And so, I don't think I'd be great at it now. Oh, that's really nice, Cece. Yeah, she's been so great. So I just seeing other people's like what things they did. I think the person who broke the most character that I saw in person was either probably the senior associates for the Lively side who were on the bench on the wall. I don't know their names. They were on the bench towards the wall. They looked like dicks, to be honest. And not because they were on Lively's side, but because they genuinely have that, I'm an asshole and you're the worst. Like they looked at you like you're scum. And like, I would even just smile at them nice. Like, you know, people that you could tell are just like, yeah, nice to see you. They were like, that's how they looked at you. And you're like, hi, nice to see you. And they're like, ew. That's those guys, they weren't giving good vibes, bad vibes. However, Lively's team overall, Ezra Hudson, she's impressive. I was very impressed by her. The reason being, she had the most vile, insane argument that I'm sure she was forced to make. That she had no choice but to try and defend her client. But she did it so well. And like in the way that she carried herself, her confidence, her like, just like matter of fact, and her eloquence in speaking that you can't get from reading the online. Does that make sense? Uh-oh, they're inviting me. Okay, guys, we're going to hop on over to NAG and LGA's live. Mwah, mwah. Come join me. I think it's on Little Girl Attorney's page, okay?